I'm Kai Zyganiuk from chefkai.com. I'm glad you guys could join me today. What I'm going to be creating is a simple dinner recipe for 2 people. So the dish that I'm creating today is a wild salmon, pan roasted with jumbo shrimp. I've got a sweet potato and red onion which I'm going to fork down with some butter, haricot vert French beans. I'm going to do shaved baby golden beet, and I have living baby watercress. All of my produce is organic and my seafood is wild, all of which you can get at your local market in your local town and city. So what I'm basically going to go through is the instructions and the preparation methods of how to create this dish. The reason why I've chosen haricot vert and the fine French green beans is the flavor is a little bit different. You get a better crunch of them. I find that they're a better bean. So all you really have to do is you take your beans here, get all the ends the same way, and then you're just going to get them all the same way, and you're just going to cut the ends off. That's it. And they can get blanched, or you can cook them to order. And with the sweet potato here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use about almost all of this for what I need it for. I'll just set that off to the side. And I'm not going to peel it. I'm just going to give it a wash. And I want to keep some of the skin on because you get a really nice earthy flavor. I've got these bowls around in the cupboards. So there's my beans. They're going in there. I just took my sweet potato and I washed it. And I'm just going to cut it into cubes. Everyone's got a good sharp chef knife at home. It's very important that you have at least one. So I'm just going to, like I said, I'm going to dice the sweet potato, and it's going to get boiled in salted water. And that's it. It goes into the bowl until it goes into the pot. And some of this onion is going to get sauteed, and it's going to get folded into the sweet potato at the end, right? So you just want to take the peeling off, cut your onion in half, and I'll show you the proper way to cut an onion, which is really simple. It looks more difficult than it is, put it that way. A bowl here, and take my red onion, which I've cut in half, very simple, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy because it's just getting sauteed and added to the sweet potatoes, right? So what you do is you make a slice, and the knife of the angle is actually on the way down. So 2 slices, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this way, and then cut it back this way. And then you get pretty much perfectly diced red onion. And this applies to carrots or any vegetables. So there's your onion. So all of my produce is prepared here, it's ready to go. Just gonna get my beet ready to go because I'm gonna wash it. Because I'm gonna be shaving this, and I'll show you how we do that. Actually, what I'm gonna do with the beet is I'm just gonna quickly peel it. It's really nice color, and these are great, full of vitamins, and they give nice crunch and texture. So I've got my fish here. Now that I've cut up all my produce, I'm ready to go. Before the fish goes into a heated pan, I just want to lightly give it some oil, salt, and pepper. Actually, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm just going to lightly oil it and get it ready to go, and I'll season it just before it goes into the pan. What I've got here is the wild salmon. It's a fantastic fish, and because it's wild, the texture, the taste, and everything about the fish is not comparable to a farmed fish. Wild fish has a lot more flavor, the meat is delicate. So one of the things that you have to remember when cooking this type of fish is not to overcook it. I generally like to eat this fish medium rare, but today we're going to go with about medium well. And I have these wild shrimp here, and very simple. What I'm going to do is you can leave the shells and the tail on, and when you're sauteing shrimp, if you leave the shells and tail on, it releases the oils in the shellfish, like the shells here, so you'll get better flavor, right? Or you'll get a more stronger flavor. But today, because I'm just doing this one time and I'm adding the shrimp to a salmon dish, it's fine. I'm just going to peel the shrimp just like this. It's very simple. You can get them live with the head on. These are partially cleaned and deveined. As you can see, the line down the middle. So what that means is it's cut down the middle, and they've taken out the vein of the shrimp that's there. You start with your ingredient that takes the longest, and in this case it is the sweet potatoes, which really only take about 12 to 15 minutes. So I'm just going to get a pot, add them to my pot, get some cold water, very simple, cold water, level right up to the sweet potatoes, about half a teaspoon of salt. There you go, half a teaspoon of salt in your sweet potatoes, get it right on the stove, turn it on high, and that's going to start to boil in the next 12 to 15 minutes. What I'm doing is, this is a baby yellow beet. It's not an heirloom variety, but if you look around you'll find orange, red, and yellow beets in your local market, and they're all pretty much grown organically. Really fantastic product. So I have a mandolin here, and I'm just going to shave it very thin, and then I'm going to show you how to pickle it, which is very simple, and we're just usually going to get around the fish. It's great for texture. And always be careful when you're using these mandolins. You should use a blade, but because I'm doing one and it's mine, I've had it for years, I'm comfortable with it. So I'm just shaving it really fine, just like that. I have my shaved beets here. See how thinly shaved there? Really beautiful, nice texture and flavor. So what I'm gonna do is I have simple white vinegar, some white vinegar, and I add 1 tablespoon of white vinegar to my beets, a teaspoon of olive oil, and honey for sweet and to balance out the acid. And I'm gonna add a tablespoon of the honey. So what I'm just gonna do now is I'm just gonna mix this together. And this is going to sit for about 5 or 10 minutes. And I'll show you what happens is the beets will become pliable and soft, and the acid and the honey makes a nice, really sweet, vibrant flavor to go with the earthy beet flavor. It's a fantastic garnish. It's a great component. These are great for salads or just simple garnish like what I'm doing now. So my sweet potatoes cooking, and I'm going to get a pan on for my green beans, and I'm just lightly going to saute them in some grapeseed oil. So now I've got my preheated pan here. I'm just going to add a little bit of grapeseed oil, about a tablespoon. I'm going to come back to my fish now. Just give my fish a little bit of seasoning, a little bit of salt, fresh cracked black pepper. Watch your, be careful, make sure you use a rag here. Make sure your pan's smoking hot. In this case, I'm going to go skin side down. Just make sure your oil's hot. That's it. Always put the meat down away from you so it doesn't splash hot oil back to the pan. Just a little touch of olive oil. So I'm essentially going to steam these. These are my green beans. They're into a hot pan. And if you don't have vegetable stock for the beans, what I'd like to do is, I don't want to fry them, I'm just going to lightly steam them. So I just have some filtered water here if you don't have vegetable stock. Add the water right in there. Give it a little bit of seasoning. Just a little bit of sea salt and a touch of pepper. Point here, I'm just going to turn my fish down to a medium heat, and it's not going to take that long to cook. I'm about to flip it now. Potatoes are done in 8 minutes, beans are done now, and I'm just going to set them off to the side. I'm going to strain the sweet potato, saute some onion, add the potatoes back into it, and then we'll go to plating from there. A spoon of butter into the beans, let that butter melt, turn your beans down, and I'm just going to flip my fish now. I just wanted the skin to get nice and crispy and roasted. Like I said, it's pan roasted salmon, so let your skin get crispy like this. Just be careful when you're flipping it away from you. Done. Fish back into the pan, and you can turn that down because we want to actually, you can shut it off. Shut your burner off because the fish is going to continue to cook and we don't want to overcook it. Beans are almost done. You can set these off to the side. They should still be a vibrant green and have a nice crunch. I've shut my salmon off in the pan, and what I'm going to do now is just add my shrimp into the pan, and the residual heat of the cast iron will continue to cook them. So I've just sliced them in half, and I'm just going to set them into the pan like this, just like that. This residual heat will continue to cook the shrimp, because part of the reason why I sliced them in half is because I want them to cook as quick as possible, and you don't want to overcook them. Add a little knob of butter. Like I said, they're not going to be that long. Just give your shrimp a nice little saute, and also you can add a couple of these red onions that we're going to be using for a couple things. It's all for flavor. While my shrimp is cooking and the potatoes are finishing up, I've just taken the crispy salmon out of the hot pan, and I'm just going to let it rest on the side here, and it'll remain nice and juicy, medium on the inside. The fuss with a strainer, I'm just really going to take them over to the sink here. And I'm just going to strain these potatoes, okay? Because you want to keep some of the liquid for mashing. And that's pretty much the whole point of it. And I'll show you how we're going to pork the sweet potatoes together right now. So our shrimp are cooking, finishing off, lovely. Potatoes are ready. So I've just added a teaspoon of the butter, and I have a little bit of water left over from the boil. So lightly just going to fork them. Add a little bit of salt now. You want to season everything. It's important to season your food, and you're tasting as you go. You don't want to start cooking, get into the habit of cooking dinner and then getting to the table and tasting it. You want to season as you go, and that's one of the most important things to realize when you're cooking, right? Be one with your food. So I'm just going to do a little taste of the sweet potato. Good. Beautiful flavor. Needs a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper. And we can never have enough butter, so I'm just going to add a little touch of butter again. Just lightly mash it like this. And you don't want to overwork it because then it becomes too starchy, right? You want it wet, so So great, our dinner's almost finished here. This is the last step. Just a little bit of grapeseed oil, a hot pan, and we're just going to quickly give our nice red onions a nice saute, and that's it. Give them a little stir around. We ran out of pans here, great, because we're cooking at home, so it's really what it's all about. Great, so our onions are fried, and again, we're seasoning everything. We can take our onions right off now. Give them a good stir. Right into our sweet potato. Now, let's just give this a stir. Everything's coming off. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the plate and we're going to plate our dinner here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start with our starch here. And we're just going to set this pretty much in the center of the plate, and you can get a nice scoop of that. Very rustic. Wonderful. And next, and I've set this cloth here on the table because while I'm plating quickly, you don't want to burn up the table, right? So I've got all my ingredients to me, so I can just plate the dish. And the next step is, we're just going to get our green beans here, haricot vert, set them right over the top of the sweet potatoes. And now we are going to plate our salmon fillet, of wild salmon. And I'm going to come back with the shrimp here. Okay, and you want to get all the fried onion bits. You can just place a couple of these around. It doesn't have to be in any specific order. And you know, we're cooking at home, and we're having a good time. That's the most important thing about cooking. And what I'm basically just going to do is place these pickled beets that have been lightly pickled in vinegar and honey. And it's a fantastic way to do a quick pickling, and the acidic acid in the vinegar essentially cures the beet. So you're going to get really nice flavor and a little bit of crunch and texture in there. The last step is my baby watercress seedling. Really fantastic product. This stuff is great. Wonderful stuff for garnish. And I'm just going to finish that with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. That's it. Give it a bit of fleur de sel. Done. And that's it. So under 25 minutes, dinner for two. One, you can multiply the recipe however you like. Pan roasted wild salmon, jumbo shrimp, green beans, mashed sweet potato with pickled beets and watercress. Very simple dish, inexpensive, fantastic flavor.
Is that good, Z?
Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it. That means a lot. If you didn't like it, then I'd be concerned.